right. Good morning. We are coming in hot, as Matt here would say.
Woo-hoo! Good morning.
Good morning, Matt and Jenny. How you guys doing?
We're amazing.
Good.
How are you guys?
How are y'all?
Wonderful,
Good.
wonderful. We're so glad you guys were able to join us here this morning, and we know this was kind of a last minute put together as schedules aligned. So we appreciate the time.
We're honored to be here. You guys are an awesome
We are.
couple, and we follow you, and you're doing some big things. So just awesome to be here. And your jacket is on point, Joel.
Isn't it awesome?
Thank you.
Super
I was
awesome.
going to compliment Audrey's cute yellow skirt.
Oh,
You're
Where's
working.
the next skirt?
that's on point too.
I let her pick out the jacket. So
Usually wears a yellow tie with it, so it would really, really match. But
Well, Matcherson.
a little bit.
there we go.
Oh,
So I always look for, or she always will go for, like, what's the boldest thing we can find?
Yeah.
You know, or most
Bold.
crazy
If you're
why
gonna
not?
get it custom made, because he's a big and tall guy like you, not so big, mostly tall, and you gotta get it to
Yeah.
fit right.
There you go.
Absolutely. I like it.
So-
Looks good.
For those of us joining us that don't know who Matt and Jenny Smith are, how about you guys introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you guys are.
Yeah, absolutely. So we live here in Pueblo, Colorado. We're entrepreneurs. He's a big snooze mattress guy, been in the mattress industry for over 20 some years. We just started a company called Wake Up. Pueblo started from undercover billionaire with the one and only Grant Cardone, as obviously that's how we met at Grant's 10X Growth Con, and have a gym and 3 beautiful children that we're super proud of. Yeah.
You guys stay busy.
You want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's us in a nutshell. We're
In a
entrepreneurs.
nutshell.
And we're family first. We're parents. We adore being parents, and that's what we live for our children and for memories and making memories. And we do all this business stuff on the side too. And we met that crazy Grant Cardone guy on Undercover Billionaire, and that's where we got to meet you guys from 10X. So exciting stuff.
Exactly. It's amazing. It's always amazes me. I always sit there and contemplate. I don't know about you, Matt or Jenny, but I always go back and I think through, like, how did that connection happen? Because sometimes we don't realize the steps we're making. And at moments in time, we get hesitant to make certain steps because we don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's when you meet amazing people that you're like, man, that's like the fuel to go out there. And I love you guys. I love watching the content that you guys are putting out. Matt,
Yes.
you're on like,
Yes.
you know, like a whole level of energy. I love it.
Yeah, I
appreciate that.
thought he had a lot of energy and positivity, and then I watch you. I'm like, okay, how does Matt do it?
Right. Well, I used to be that way. And then I met him and I was like, well, we can't both be it. So I've come down, and he has, as you would call, be growth driven or
Yeah.
excitement driven. I don't know.
I like it.
I was going to say, from watching this show, before you even realized what 10X was, I'm like, you already were 10X. And we've met people, business-minded, focused, who are already in that mindset without knowing the principles or the theory of it. Did
For
you
sure.
find that? Did you identify that about yourself, or did Grant say that about you when you guys got together?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've always been a very, very driven person. I've always been a firm believer that we got one chance at this life, so go after it and get it whatever you want out there, and work your little tail feathers off to get what you want out there. But Grant, yeah, the 10X momentum movement was something that was definitely new to us. But when we went to that growth conference for their first time is when I was like, oh, this is a big deal. Like, even going up until that thing, like, his books are amazing. The guy, I mean, he 10X so many different things in our community. And then even myself, like, I thought I was a fast runner, just like you thought Joel had a lot of energy. I thought I was a fast mover. And then I met this Grant Cardone guy, or Lewis Curtis, and it was like, whoo, this guy is another level of speed and momentum. And yeah, for sure. So it wasn't called 10X before, but definitely our lives have been 10X. Our community's been 10X. Everything we do is definitely been 10X.
But
Yeah.
you're right. He was definitely 10X. He was like a Grant Cardone within itself. So I think when Grant met him, it was just kind of like, it made sense.
Yeah.
And that's why Grant just kind of attached to him.
Yeah. And thank goodness you said yes a second time on the show. The first time he showed up with cameras, I remember you're like, no. And he's like, I really want to meet this guy.
Right.
I was
For
impressed
sure.
with that part of the story, that you did give him a chance, that you did finally connect.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out what their motive was, and that's just curiosity. When Ryan Zabukovic calls me, a good friend of mine, and he's like, hey, Matt, like, I'm going to send this guy and there's a camera crew coming. He just needs to join a gym right now and he wants to meet you. And I'm like, all right, great, bring him on in. And then I showed up and I'm like, this isn't a camera crew. This is like drones flying and like 7 vans inside the parking lot. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And so I was really more curious than I was hesitant on them being there. You know, I was okay with it. I was like, I need to understand what's going on here. And then when they really pushed on the Pueblo passion and, hey, we're trying to do a documentary on your community, you know, that hits home for both of us. We're very Pueblo passionate people. We love our community. And, you know, if you want to do something to better our community, we're in. Sign me up. Where can I go? So they tugged at our heartstrings with that one. They knew what they were doing.
And that was honest. It was a story, but it was honest. He did want to do that. And that would be strange. In Pueblo, we've been there. It's a little bit smaller than our community. It'd be interesting if someone shows up with a camera crew like that.
For sure.
You have to know there's more to it. Did you think there's more to this than that? Or no? Did you just
Yeah, you know, I learned early on to just embrace it. Like I was like, quit asking questions. You're signing all this paper. You're getting other people to do that. You're getting questioned everywhere you go. Everything's going on. But I'm like, I'm here for the ride. This is a beautiful thing. Something special is happening. And, you know, God's got a plan. We'll figure it out.
Yep. And we want us to be part of it. So
Absolutely.
Why not just jump on the ride and go for it?
I always think like situations like that, like what's the worst that could happen? You know, what's absolutely the worst that could happen?
For sure.
So let's like rewind back for a second. Have you guys always been entrepreneurs? How did you get started? What's the earliest like entrepreneurial moment that you remember?
I sold bubble gum out of my locker when I was in elementary school. I think I would go to Sam's Club and buy bulks of bubble gum, and then I would sell individual packets for 25 cents.
Yeah.
So I remember that as kind of where it all started. Is like, oh wow, all I have to do is go to Sam's Club and buy in bulk, and then come here and make $4 in a day. Like, woo, I'm rich, you know. So
right.
I remember that. I remember mowing lawns. I remember I was always trying to figure out, okay, how do I make a buck? And then how do I turn that into $2? But yeah, as an early age, I bought real estate at 20 years old. You know, I was raised by a single mother of 2 boys. So we didn't have anything. Like we didn't have money growing up. So it was that perfect storm of like, okay, I want to be the best father I can possibly be, but I want to figure out how to have that freedom to go on vacation that I didn't have that as a kid. I mean, my mom made up for it in love, but we didn't have money. So I was always trying to figure out, okay, how do we do that?
But you had happiness too. Yeah.
Oh, we had more happiness than I could speak about, but yes.
Same here. We grew up simple, but I never thought we were lacking. Can I ask, have you two always worked together? When did that start?
No. So, you know, when the TVs got, you know, came and all that, and they were going to do like real estate, I'm like, well, that's your cup of tea. And then when there was a marketing idea, I used to be a teacher, and then I did advertising for 8 years with Lamar.
Oh.
So I was in the advertising, and once I was part of the marketing meetings and all that to help the businesses. But once it was like, we're going to do this next company and it's going to be marketing, I'm like, I'm in. So my job honestly let me be part of it. And I was working like, I don't know, 16 hours a day, waking up early, making sure my advertising business was being
she was doing billboards at the time. So she was selling billboards for another company.
Lamar. Yeah, I know Lamar.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. While it was all going together.
We have not always worked together. That just started in October officially.
So I would say there's 2 sides to that. Like we haven't always worked together, but this woman has always been my #1 fan. She has always supported me. I couldn't do what I do without her there. Like, so we might not have worked in the same building, but we definitely worked together at the dinner table and sometimes at breakfast or whatever it may be. She always was there to say, yes, you got this. Like she was always there to push me. So for the last 10 years, she's been a big part of everything that we've done 100%. This is the first time we have offices together though.
Okay. That's what I was curious about. And I love how in the book you wrote it together though. I love the Jenny's tips in there and the points, because it is a team effort. Family is family first, like you said, and it's a team effort. So I loved that point in this book.
And that was all him. That was so sweet of him just to include me. He's like, there's never been like a wife's, vision or insight on it. I'm like, you are so sweet. And he's an amazing husband. He just always wants to include me. And I'm thankful for that.
I appreciate it. But that was true. I mean, she is a part of every one of those chapters. She was there, so it's like, what was your side of this? Like, see if you can tell a little bit on your outside coming in. What did that feel like? And I had nothing to do with any of that. I'm like, you go interview and just put it out there. It'll be good. So yeah, just like you guys. How long you guys work together?
Okay, so well,
Go ahead. Go for
I'm
it.
talking too much on this.
No, go for it. I'm
So
enjoying
we
it.
take turns. Usually one's more introverted, one's more extroverted. Whoever has the most energy of the day, and I guess I'm more excited
No,
about
that's
all
all
this.
good. I'm gonna go for it.
Woo!
We've been our 20th wedding anniversary is this year, so we've been together a long time, and we've worked together and then not, and then worked together again. There's been different phases of our life, different time periods.
At the very beginning, when I started my company, we started. I was like, "Hey, I need help," so we started working together, and it
Yeah.
didn't work out so well.
My heart was torn because our son was still little, and I wanted to be home with him, and I didn't know what I was doing here with him. And I'm like, why am I here? I don't even know what I'm doing. And so it didn't work out so great then. But then after we had our second, and some circumstances changed, I'm like, okay, it's time again. Let's make this work. And we've been working together since. What's this been? Well, I used to bring her in diapers. She used to sit under my desk and watch shows while I'd make cold calls for him. And I wasn't even getting paid. I mean, it's a family business.
Oh, I know. I'm still not getting paid.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting paid. But that was the concept. And everybody's like, you don't get a paycheck. I'm like, you don't know what it's like to have a family business.
Yeah, for sure.
We tell our kids that. I'm like, you have internet, you have an iPad, you have a phone, you're getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
The benefits of other things. But yeah, we've been working together for probably about 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
And every year it's like a different phase, a different step up. This is the most responsibility I've had. So the pressure's on.
I think the nice thing, like over time, like you end up finding new things out about your partner.
For
you
sure.
know, because you get put underneath new different situations that have different pressure to them that you don't experience at home. And when you're in the rapid fire of a day to day, sometimes it's just a whole nother, so you have to learn new ways that you deal with that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. There's tons of seasons, and you got to learn how you could step up where the other partner needs it at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And fulfill and accomplish what is needed.
Right.
For the whole team.
Right now, Matt's getting ready to open up 2 new Snooze stores, which is exciting. We have the one in Pueblo, and they're going to open up within a week. And so even this morning, I'm like, it's like, what do we got going on this weekend? I'm like, I got the family front. You do you. You got to step up where we're needed, and he needs to be in the business world right now and doing what he does well and best.
So you had a little weekend getaway, a refresher, and then come back and get back at it. I love it.
We'll grind and we'll take another refresher. Like that's work hard, play harder. That is the goal in life. But when we're working hard, we're working our asses off. We just it's funny because so many people say that, like on Facebook, like, do you guys just vacation all the time? I'm like, no, I just don't post when I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm grinding for everything like that. I show you the happy part, but there is a lot behind the scenes to make all this work for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, and especially just the fact that you guys still have little kids. I mean, it's not easy. You make it look easy, but I think those who've been there or similar circumstances would know so much more work than you realize.
For sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did we just do? Did we just lose him? Nope, we didn't lose him though.
Hold on, we're
There
here.
we go.
Okay. Woo.
This
is the fun of
something
live.
popped up on the screen there for a second. It was something else. So what? Okay, so what was the first business you started?
Yeah.
Going back to
other than the gum thing, but like after adulthood.
Actually, Snap Fitness was the first real business. It was I was selling mattresses for a company here, and I had flipped a lot of houses. So in 2000 to 2008, I had bought and sold a lot of houses, and I was learning the real estate game. And then obviously 2007, 2008, the world just. But I had made some money, and I was like, okay, now here's my moment. Like, what am I going to do? So I shopped a ton of franchises, and Snap Fitness was actually the first. And then after that opened and I saw the light, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. It was creating the systems. And then I opened a party bus at the time. I opened a carpet cleaning business right after that.
And that's where I came in with the party bus. I was helping him make the create the rules and cleaning out the bus and the car wash. And then that's where I kind of came in. But he's always been the entrepreneur. I just help execute it.
You're the support team, and that's great. You have to have both. You have to have both.
For sure.
I think it's one of those things, and Grant and Elena talk about it. Like, she clears the way so he can plow through the wall, so nothing gets in the way to go through the wall. I think that's what makes a good marriage too. It's like you have to find, you have to both be agreeable to what's the role each are going to play,
For
so
sure.
you're aiming towards the vision of where you both want to go.
You
Yeah.
hit the nail on the head. You have to define that role. And that was the first thing at Wake Up that he asked that we do. He's like, can we have a conversation? You know, we both can't be the owners. We got to really, who's going to be, you know, and obviously it's always going to be him, but I'm always going to be the real boss, right? It's just going to let him think he's the boss.
Communication's the key, like you said. I mean, it is. We literally, that was the first thing. Me and her went to lunch and we sat across the table and we're like, okay, here's going to be the challenges. Here's going to be the successes. Where do we fit into this? And let's commit to that and move on, because it's going to be too hard of like, no, that's you. Like, that's me. Like, there's too much involved in there. So communication, and then open communication, you know, and she's got something going on, I'm supporting, and vice versa. But we always conversate when something bothers us one way or another, or something is a beautiful thing to compliment each other. Like, it's just
Right.
Communication is the key, 100%.
I read that point and I'm like, I need to work on that. Say something nice every day. Because when you're in the roles of it, when you're in the day to day,
Yeah.
it gets overwhelming. So you have to remember, he's always like, remember, we're still married. I'm like, but we're at work. We have to be professional. He's like, you can touch me. I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, work.
And she's that way. She brings that love here. She just comes over and just like, I love you.
One.
Yeah, love you.
He is. He's the teddy bear and I'm the Nazi. What's it?
Yeah, it's good done.
Put the hammer down.
Right. Well, I'm the one that I want music going. I want the workplace to be fun. I want it to be.
It's like, should we get a PlayStation in here? I'm like, no, we should not have a PlayStation at the office.
I'm like, something that just is like that, the brief minutes where you can just say, okay, let's go talk about this, but let's do it over here, because you could. Yes, we should. We're getting votes from the office right there. So something just to break up, because sometimes, you know, now that you guys have Wake Up and you're in that, you get, I'm sure you guys hit these creative like stumps.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and I created a space, like he's let me go. Like we have bags, we have golf, we have blocks, we have a little basketball game, because too, you have to stop and just smell the roses. So, you know, when we hit it hard for an hour, then, hey, let's take 10 minutes and just.
Yeah, and we even do like the 9:05 energy meeting that we learned from Grant. Like every morning we put that on and just get the team ready for the day. And it's probably my favorite part. It's like, I don't miss that meeting. It's we even when we talk to you guys, like, hey, we got to get off at 9:05 because the team's waiting for it. The energy's there. And then we just kind of move on with the day. And we actually just the other day we're talking about, okay, how do we break that up? Because as creators, sometimes these guys we've got 20 people in here that are the most creative people you've ever met in your entire life. But looking at a computer screen for so long, it gets monotonous. You've got to figure out how to break that up. So we actually have kegerators in here from a local beer place next door that we're setting 3 and 4 on tap right now. So just little things with rules and regulations, but to make that Google atmosphere, that fun atmosphere, to make sure that you get more creative and more productivity out of having a little bit of fun here and there, for sure.
Yes.
I always say though too, like some of that stuff, like if we have to put too much rules, we probably should get rid of that person.
Absolutely.
For sure.
3 votes for kegs. Okay. We're getting more.
We're like,
Thanks, Matt. Thanks.
Podcast with them.
You guys deserve it.
But no, it's like you do have to create the environment to have fun, because you know what else? I don't know. I look at it like a lot of things, like, you know, the things you can do as a family, those types of things, because what else are you working for?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the work? The work is to fuel the other things, or to complement the other things oftentimes. And I think people often just simply forget that. It's important, but you'll never get those moments back. And that's something that I realized looking back, that I wasted a lot of good moments.
For sure.
And I sincerely regret that.
Yeah.
So I think it's beautiful. You guys are inspiring just to watch, because of how you're, you know, at least the stuff that we get to see, you know, which is awesome. But it's just inspiring to watch, because you guys are juggling all these things. And I'm sure some days it probably doesn't feel like it. Yeah. But some days I'm sure it's where it all comes together.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's those days with a margarita in Margaritaville. That's when it all comes together.
Nice.
You're like, all right, we're here.
And you guys, I appreciate you guys keep it real. I mean, you're not a downer, but you also you keep it real. Your posts do not look like you're putting on a facade by any means. But I was going to ask, Matt, you do have a lot of energy and positivity. Do you ever have to pump it up? I mean, I'm sure there's times where you feel down. How do you keep that fueled?
You know, I think it's just, in the book, I think one of the chapters is positivity is a muscle. And I talk about that because I think that I've thought about it and I've trained my brain so long that is all I know. Like, she knows that I wake up ready to go. Let's get it on and let's get this day going. And same thing, I go to bed that way. It's like every day is a blessing, So I don't necessarily have to turn it on and off. It's pretty hard to get negative energy through this body. It's just not, I don't
never
want
negative. But if he does get tired, I'm going to tell you a secret. He takes a pre-workout and he calls it his crack.
Oh, yeah.
So he takes it first thing in the morning and then a little bit in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. For energy, yeah. There's amino energy. I don't know if you've ever heard of amino energy, but it flies off the shelf at our gym. But yeah, that's definitely in caffeine. So caffeine.
Jenny, I saw your video where you were out of coffee and you're like, I'm having Matt's drink. And I would never drink that in the morning. I'm like, no, it'd just be no coffee because it has to have cream. It has to.
Yeah, I didn't have I did.
When?
I think when I had COVID.
Nice.
And I was out of creamer and I was like, I can't do black coffee. And so I was like, I'm finally, because he's like, you should take it, especially right now.
It's healthier and it travels easy. It's just, a couple.
No, it does not travel easy. He always gets stuck in security with it.
Security always thinks I have cocaine or something with me, but it's just pre-workout.
So is one of you a morning person and one of you an evening person? Because he's the night owl and I'm the morning energy. No,
I'm the morning energy. You stay up later than me.
I'm still morning. We're both pretty the same in that area.
And your youngest is still young. That's hard too. Like you have their schedule.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yours.
Yeah,
for sure.
What is one favorite tool, or you could say process or whatever, that you guys use every day? Like a centering thing.
I think that communication, I think we talk about that too in the book a little bit, but even the communication with the kids, just asking them the 3, 2, 1, what was your 3 successes of the day, your 2 failures, and what are you looking forward to for tomorrow? It's something that we try to do every single day, to just keep the open line of communication. And that's actually this book that I was writing this morning that we're finishing up it's a kid's book, but it's just communicating with the kids a little bit. But you'd be surprised when you say, what was your 3 most important things of the day? Even what she says sometimes of the day, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was important. I would have thought that was going to be your bottom of your list. And your kids, some days they're like, the craziest thing that they say, you're like, wow, like I didn't know that was important to you. I thought you were going to say going down this giant slide, but instead you said this kiss that you gave me after lunch or whatever it may have been. It's just a cool way of communicating and understanding each other and the kids a little bit more. So I would say that's, to me, communication.
And two, not always just the positives, the 2 things that didn't go well, what didn't go well, and how could those have gone better? So to talk about them together as, as a partner, as partners, as well as a family, it's just huge because then you can adapt and grow.
Yeah. And considering the environment of families, sometimes not to introduce a negativity, but that helps your kids be accountable. That helps them realize it's up to you as well. Because our youngest is 9. And I'm like, at what point is she going to stop saying everything is everybody else's fault? I'm like, we got to teach her accountability. And then somebody's like, there's adults who don't even know that. I'm like, oh, we got to work with our kids. So that's a great way to show. I'm looking forward to that book because anything you can do to help your kids be better adults and have it go more smoothly, but realistically is good.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, when I drive my kids to school every day, the one thing I say every single morning is today going to be a great day? And they both say, or all 3 of them, like, yes, because we're going to make it a great day. So call it brainwashing, call it whatever you want, but I'm starting their day off positive as well, too. It's just one of those things that, they know they choose that path.
And they bring that into the classroom. That's
100%.
Contagious. Their teachers see it, their classmates see it. So you're giving them such a great gift.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I love it. Yeah,
we need to do better. We thought we were doing good. Wow.
Well, so now
you're on fire.
You grew up with a single parent family, Matt.
Yeah.
Right. And so do you think that was like a big motivator between a lot of the drive that you have now?
100%. I think, even when I think about my book, I think about the perfect storm of like growing up without a father and never having anybody, never pushing me into sports, never getting any kind of games, like never being there for any of that.
Right.
And then obviously my mother that was there for everything. And she was the heart and soul of everything of who I am today, but struggled financially, like getting electric turned off in the middle of the week or not being able to eat until, whatever, just not eat, but not like have the money to be able to go out and do stuff. Like, so I think it was like in my head, I was learning the goods and the bads and what I wanted to change in my life. And that's kind of how the perfect storm in my eyes came out. So 100%. You know, you got to learn the good with the bad, you know, and everybody in your life. And, you know, me and my dad have built a relationship since. He's a great guy. He's actually moving out here to be a big part of our kids' life to up north, but to be a part of my kids' life, because he has one more chance to make that up. He wasn't there for me, but now he's got that opportunity and he's going to embrace that. So it's a cool thing. But yeah, for sure, it's been a perfect storm to give us freedom. We just want the freedom. We don't necessarily need all the money in the world. We just want the freedom, and we kind of want a private jet so we don't have to wait in line. That's it.
Don't we all? You guys want to go in on one day?
He's got
quiet.
He does.
I got to say the Pilatus PC24 is one you should look at. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Pilatus PC24. I like it.
It's a jet. It can do grass strips. You can get it anywhere then.
Anywhere in Colorado.
Yeah. Interesting.
Is that Austin?
You own a plane, or you just
It's
fly?
a goal. It's a
No,
goal.
so I actually own a fraction of a club, and we own 3 aircraft. So
Very cool.
I'll take you up next
I
time.
know.
Next time we make it out to
Let's do this.
2 tall
All right.
guys in a plane. That's going to be great.
hey, but they have the leg room. That's the biggest thing. Like seriously, we were on the phone this weekend. He goes, "This is what I want my own plane," because he, tall guy problem.
First class.
Now we-
First class.
I'm a
not
cheap-
patient either.
I'm cheap. When I'm like, we'll take the back.
Yeah.
Once he had the leg room, there's no going back.
That's-
There's,
that's
but you
been
don't
hard.
have your own leg.
Love it.
That's been hard to go back.
Yeah.
I've not been able to really do it since. And
My legs are the same length as his. He has more torso, so that's why he's taller. My legs are the same as his. No joke.
Really?
Yeah, I'm all legs. So I kind of like the
Good
first
girl.
one too.
there we go.
What's Friday Saturday for me? What does that mean? What was that question down there?
Kick that back
Oh,
up.
Jesse, what was that?
She asked, does next Friday or Saturday work better for you?
For what?
To go fly.
Let's go. Saturday.
Oh, any day.
Let me check.
No.
You're gonna be in Florida.
Well, no, this
Get
weekend.
two mattress
Oh,
stores.
yeah.
June is really good though.
June's
June.
good. Okay.
June. Okay, let's plan it in June.
That'd be great.
Right.
That's why I was like, you have this and you have that. We know what your schedule is.
But going back to Matt, I really appreciate you bringing that out, because I grew up with a single parent family. My parents got divorced back when I was 6, so it's like knowing what and we were like, I always say it's like we were, poor looked at us and said you're poor, and kind of a thing. It was because I remember one time us coming home and finding a bunch of boxes on the front porch. We lived in this trailer park, and the boxes had food. And I didn't know it at the time, but it's like my mom didn't have any money for food. And so it was the first time I ever had Fruit Loops.
Wow.
Like the name brand cereal. I was like, I was in heaven. I was like, Fruit Loops. These are amazing. Who invented these? So I look at those things, and that's why I asked the questions, like, because I was imagine that fuels you, kind of like looking back. It's like
100%.
it's not my mom's fault per se, but I want to give something better, and that's kind of been my drive. It's like I want to lay something better, like a better path for my children, and that's very important to me. Like, and so that's one of the things that really resonated with me, like with what Grant does and things like that with his foundation,
For sure.
and what that potentially has as a meaning, as an impact, for people. So, it's like pave a better, leave a better path than what you had, along those lines. So
I love it. Yep. And the other side of those stories that I remember as a kid too is like, not only did certain times things happen in our life, but it was like we would leave church. My mom would give a homeless man on the street the last $20 or $30 in her wallet, and then we'd go home and our power would get shut off. So it was like backwards. It was like, but that was just, she had a heart of gold, and she would give everything she had to everybody around her. You know what I mean? And those are the stories that I'll never forget. And they are who I am right now.
And I think that's important, though. I think just we see humanity kind of around us. There's pockets of humanity that are doing things like that.
Right.
And there's pockets that just we look at, we scratch our head saying, what's going through their head right now? Where's their heart, or what's happening to them? And I think it's so important that we look for ways that we can leave that positive impact, because you never know how that changes someone's journey.
For sure.
Along the way. So definitely, I love it. I love it too. it's again, it's I always sit there. I'm a heavy analyzer, on that personality scale, and so I always like to look at like, why did this happen? How did it come about? So, or why do I feel that way, or why does this person feel that way?
Yeah.
On a positivity note, I was going to say, Matt, I love watching you interact with your team. I know we only saw little bits on the show, but both of you guys with the team and the employees, the staff.
No, he is the most wonderful boss. And if, anybody comes to a new season in their life where they're moving on, the one thing that's the hardest part for them is to leave this guy, because he is just the most amazing human being. He really just wants to help people. And that's always been the hardest part. And we've gone through a lot of employees, and that's definitely the one common denominator with them.
Yeah.
He's amazing with them.
All right. What if you were to give one piece of advice to married couples doing business together? What would it be?
Mine would be, stay true to each other and your family first, 100% of the time. Family is always, businesses will come and go, and the economy may come and go as well, but your family is your top priority, and stay true to your family 100% of the time, because that's what life's all about, and make as many memories as you can.
Absolutely. And mine is just the communication key goes a long way. Like if something went, the way you didn't want it to go, have that conversation, not in front of a group, but, together where nobody else is around, and just say, hey, I don't like how this just went. This makes me feel, and then just work on it every day. So to me, communication is just a huge point too.
Yeah. Even with our kids, with employees, with kids, with everybody. That's communication 100%. Everybody in this building knows that they can come to our office at any point in any day and just sit down and talk or vent or whatever it may be. And also, I don't sweep anything under the rug. With the communication thing, works on both sides. Like if I see an issue, we have to address it. You'll never see me just be like, oh, let's hope that it goes away. Let's sweep that under the rug and hope that it's gone someday. Like, that's communication to both sides of that. Good and bad communication should always be 100% of everything.
Right. Awesome. I love it.
Almost too transparent.
For sure.
Well,
yeah.
no, and I think
it's good and bad.
Transparency is a key thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you're
we overshare.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get that way in the office.
Well, it's transparency. We have that as one of our core values, just because I think it's really important that everybody know where everything stands and where everything sits.
Yeah.
It's you can't change something you don't know.
For sure.
And you can't take action on what you don't know. So let me ask a final question. This is, since we visit with a lot of people that are in the 10X community. What can I mean to you guys?
Oh, sorry, phone's ringing. Okay, go ahead. Say that again.
Okay. Since we visit with a lot of folks in the 10X community, what does 10X mean to each of you?
Do you want to start?
No.
Yeah, 10X is definitely, it's a movement. It is giving 10 times the effort, giving 10 times more than you normally do. Like, it means a lot to me because I hung out with this guy for 6 months, and I really saw Grant Lewis Curtis of how he performed. And I will tell anybody in the audience that sees Grant or knows Grant, this guy doesn't just talk the talk. He definitely walks the walk. The guy, he is a force. But it is, whatever you think is possible, multiply that by 10. You know what I mean? And the sky is the limit. Shoot for the moon and line in the stars. I think that's what they say. But
yeah,
it really is, push yourself to the next limits. Like, Grant even told me when he came to present to me, and this will stick in my mind forever. He came to present to me, and he was like, I was going to ask you for $1,000. And that might've been a lot to me. Like, at the time, I'm like, still like, okay. But he was like, I walked into that room and I said, I'm going to ask him for 10. And he was like, last minute, I asked you for $10,000, having no idea what you were going to say or how you're going to react. But I gave it to him, and I probably would have given him 1,000. I would have given him 10, but it's just that mentality of like 10 times everything. And when we created our own pricings for what we were doing in marketing, it was like, no, this is worth this value. And in my head, I'm like, that's a lot. Like, are people going to be able to do this and that and maintain this? And the mentality of just 10 times, give it 10 times the effort, give it 10 times everything you possibly can, and shoot for the stars, 100%.
Yeah. And I just think it's go big or go home. You can be average, which is okay. But if you want more out of life and you want all the things, you got to go big. And so you got to 10X everything you do. So it's really your choice.
And I like that you included everything, because a lot of people just look at it from the business standpoint. And it's everything. Again, the business. I really appreciate how you guys highlighted earlier too that like that businesses come and go, that family first. So that 10x everything, it means you gotta apply that towards every aspect in life.
100%. 100%
falls apart.
Yep.
What does 10x mean to you guys?
10x for me, I came across Grant back in 2015 when I was at a really kind of like trying to figure it out. And I had a kind of a big brother turn me on to it. He studied the Bible with me when I was a kid. He was like a big brother growing up. And he's like, you got to see this. And I was trying to figure stuff out. And it was like, I was trying to figure out like I was trying to do something. And it was like that one thing. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I just need to aim bigger. I need to go bigger. But the key thing when I came across 10x, this thing we call 10x, my condition, it had conditions because I was at a point where I was weak spiritually too. And so I'm like, I'm only going to use this if I can apply it there first.
And family was kind of weak too, I have to say.
Yeah, spirituality, family was weak too.
He was so focused on the business at that time.
Yeah, and that's
the
where
balance wasn't there.
That's where like if I could tell anybody, it's like that's where I went wrong early on in my business is I was so focused on the business that it hurt my family and it hurt my spirituality. And so what 10x means to me is it has to be the everything. It has to be where you go, you're relentless. Just you go all in on every single thing, but they all connect together. And when you start doing that, you truly do that, then all of these things that you're like wanting that you don't think are possible, you start to realize they're actually within reach and they're in shorter reach than you thought.
Yeah.
So, 10x to me, is just, you have to push out in every single aspect of life, your spirituality first, family, then friends, then business.
Love it.
And when you do it in that order and you do it with the same effort applied towards everything and you keep that pressure on all those areas, then you start to see the things that you're really dreaming and hoping for come together. And life has a whole different flavor to it.
Yeah.
So, we've had our ups and downs, but, for me, 10X for me, I'll say this to a lot of people. It's like, to me, I look at it as something that saved our life.
I love it.
Because
he's going to get verklempt.
Yeah,
he's going to get verklempt.
Because of just what it meant. There's a lot of things that I thought, flying a plane, being a pilot, that I thought was out of my reach now, and it was one of the first goals. I just thought, like, what the heck? I'm going to write this down and just start writing it down. And like goals were a big thing that I anchored in on. And I just started writing them down day and night. I remember one time I came home from working late at the office and it was like 1 a.m.
in the morning.
I'm like, I forgot to write my goals. So I turned around, I forgot my goal book at the office. I turned around, went home, got it, came home, wrote it, and went to bed. I was just beat tired, but it was like that amount of focus on something like that. It creates the family that that you were wanting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I get this beautiful insight of 10x because I'm like living the 10x inside. So if you would see my Instagram or my Facebook or the messages that I get on a daily basis about people saying they've been inspired, they were living in their car, if it was Undercover Billionaire that inspired them, if it was a book, if it was Grant, whatever it may be, I hear success stories on an hourly and a daily and a minute basis of people that are like, my life has been changed. I was going down this path and I just read the 10X book, or I watched one of his YouTube videos, or I watched something out there, and forever I don't look back. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm emotionally attached and emotionally involved and really understand how big this thing is now and how big that Grant Cardone is and his mission. He's on a mission to change the world and make it a better place. And by golly, if he's not doing it, it's impressive.
Impact people.
To me, when I came across him and the way that he talked about how being ethical in business and being moral, that was like a whole different thing compared to some of the other, sales trainers and things like that I ran across to. So a lot of people misunderstand him. I think it's beautiful how you explained how, really a big heart of a guy he is. And that's what I've gotten to see. And a lot of people, have an opinion of him just because they've come across one or two different opinions.
For sure.
And it's so for me, going back, I don't know, what does it mean to you?
I like what Natalie Workman says. It's a multiplier because I kind of fall back on the average. I go back to what's comfortable or what I grew up with, and to push yourself. I had that drive in high school, and I feel like I fell in the monotony of being adulting and average and lost that. So I'm constantly trying to connect back with that. I'm going to be somebody feeling and then doing it. But yeah.
I'm right there with you, man. You hit me like on the nail head.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I'm not the only, because in my head, I'm
I'm always a dreamer. And I'm like, I'm just okay with, I'm happy with what we have. And
yeah.
So I just related with you. So
There's a part of me that's totally content being a stay-at-home mom, but then I have to realize my kids aren't at home, they're at school. There's nothing for me to do at home to be productive to an extent. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do with your time? So I had to give that dream up. Unless I get pregnant, I have to give that dream up.
Is there announcements you guy want to make today?
No, there's not. Our 9-year-old
So
was
with Matt and Jenny Smith, we want to tell the world.
I am not pregnant.
If that happens, we'll wait till we get out to Pueblo. We'll do it there.
There you go.
okay. And we have a whole film crew for you. So
In the reveal at Wake Up Pueblo. No.
Because we got family there and everything like that. So
that went downhill quick. Okay.
that went down.
Okay. Morning meeting time. It's time to get pumped up.
Matt and Jenny, thank you so much. Catch their
Yes.
book on Amazon. That came up quick.
They'll come back. They'll come back. And watch Undercover Billionaire if you haven't. Oh, it's a whole different side. Was it a different side of you guys, or just it was a different side of us to see Grant that way? It really humanized him and gave him more emotion and heart. I loved it.
For sure. Yeah, no, I was happy with the way they portrayed everything. I mean, it was, they probably had 2,000 hours of me and Grant, and they had to get that into 11 episodes or 12 episodes. So I was definitely nervous how this was going to be portred. But I thought
editor's cut. We want to see all that footage.
Yeah.
I do too. I've been trying to get it. We have some behind the scenes. We're going to keep releasing it on Wake Up Pueblo's YouTube and our page and my personal page. We'll be releasing all of this stuff, everything that we have now. But we're working on with the Discovery Channel to see how much more insight I can get from them too. So
love it.
Yeah, that'll be well received.
Matt and Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, thank you for jumping on. Thank you for your comments. Definitely, we'll have a link for Matt's book in the bio or in the description here, so that way you can go find it. Go grab it today. If you haven't gotten it yet, go grab it today. And we really appreciate you guys as friends. And
yes, thank you.
You guys are amazing. So we appreciate all you guys are doing for the community and the world out there. And it was an honor to be on your podcast. We'll have you on ours here soon after we get ours up and rolling. That's the plan. I need to get a little bit of time back, and we're going to start pushing ours out here soon.
Awesome. All right, everyone, catch us next week. It's not going to be me. It's going to be Audrey. She's going to take over.
It's Girl Talk next week.
So
watch it, Jenny. You'll love it.
Join if you want. Jenny, you could probably crash it if you want to.
All right. I like crashing things.
Yes. I'll send you an invite. We'll see. We'll see
All
if it works
right.
out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Everyone.
you guys.
God bless, guys.
Thank you.
10X, baby. Have a good day.